television ads. But instant runoff voting would affect that as well because, as we said, you'd have some guy that was a black horse come out, stun them, and they would have to react to that, right? They would have to take it into account, and slowly but surely, there could be a process, and this is why I thought public financing is important, where you regulate what these idiots do, and you make them have a debate, and you make them answer a questionnaire, and you make them be public about certain things. Just by saying, hey, you have to have a position paper. Don't tell them what to write in it, but you have to have one, and here's where it's going to be.
Well, look, it's like having a representative election before the election, okay? Because basically, let's say there was 10,000 candidates in the race. It really wouldn't matter. Let's just say you could vote for anybody in the country for your congressman, all right? And so I vote for some guy in Arkansas that I really like, and he only gets 6 votes. And he's the only guy I wrote on my ballot. I put number 1, I said Joe Pumpkinhead. Okay, now Joe Pumpkinhead's no chance. So where does my vote go? Well, my vote goes still to Joe Pumpkinhead. Joe Pumpkinhead, this guy I trust, he'll decide where my vote goes. Okay, he'll pick out of the other 10,000 candidates which candidate gets that vote. All right? And because I trust him. So the point is it's like having a representative. You're voting for a representative. So you pick somebody to take responsibility for your vote. So if I was like a Ralph Nader, and theoretically it was a bunch of people who didn't put another choice on their ballot except Ralph Nader, I could decide to give my votes to George Bush, or I could give them to whatever his head, the boring guy. Now, of course I'm going to give them to the boring guy, not George Bush. You know what I'm saying? Because the people trust me. All right, and so it's representation in the election process, but it's all representation. So it's all people's choices getting actualized rather than compromised.
Hey, Gary, is there a name for that? That's a great idea. I've never heard that. But yeah, you have a primary system, and every time you have a primary, you use instant runoff voting. If your vote is exhausted because you haven't ranked every one, then they get to decide your vote in a batch, which gives them an influence, but you're not out of it because in the next primary, maybe there'd be even 3 or 4, would be 5 even, let's say 5, and in the next vote you get to vote again and rank again. And maybe your guy, wins, or if he doesn't, then, you rank again. And because he voted for that other guy, you're going to go research his platform and be a little bit knowledgeable, at least about him. If that's the only one you rank again, then he gets to vote, and he's likely to be more knowledgeable and have studied, even if just because he's running the other guys. Yeah, that's a great thing. It's sort of orthogonal to instant runoff voting, but really compatible. And I don't know if there's a name for that. Did you think that up? But that's a good idea.
Yeah, well, that's part of my whole get rid of the geography thing. Open the Congress up, make it a winner. Everybody wins. Okay, no losers for congressional representation. Every American citizen will have a congressman. All right, so you have instant runoff voting, and you combine it with getting rid of the geographic districts. And all you say is it's going to be 100 congressmen that represent the American people, and one of them your vote's going to, okay? And he's going to represent you. You're going to be the guy who voted for him, all right? But no one's going to lose. Nobody's vote's going to disappear down a black hole in a fucking Republican or a Democrat-dominated district. No losers. Everybody with a congressman, they voted for. I mean, that would be a great system.
How about we have a geographic one, so there's geographic interests represented, and we get rid of the Senate and put a national, what would be a philosophical one.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's exactly how I describe the system, is the Senate's shit anyway. I mean, the Senate is an old leftover from the whole electoral college bullshit and the whole compromises we made with the smaller states. And so if we get rid of that fucker, I mean, that would be excellent, because the Senate is crap. I mean, the fact that they give, the same representation to the 500,000 people in Alaska that they give to the 30 million people in California is just ludicrous. I mean, that's not democracy. That's not one man, one vote.
I always wanted to... Pyro, that system system you and Gary send to elections as the leader of the party. And I mean, the problem with that, though, is even though that you're delegating it eventually to delegating it to someone who's going to delegate it to another person who's going to delegate it again, we had in our last leadership race a situation where the third and fourth most popular candidates had gotten together before the second and last votes, and they told each other, hey, if one of us goes out, you send all your guys, all your votes to my way, and we're going to have either one of us is going to win. We're going to chop out the second and first place candidates whose votes are dispersed. And that's what ended up happening, is the fourth place leader ended up winning, and we got some soft-spoken Frenchy liberal who could not speak a lick of English, and we ended up losing the election.
That's because you have proportional.
On your system.
The mediation
That's because you have
thing
proportional.
comes down to
No, that's the failure.
Look,
of the
one,
system.
that-
Because thinking of instant runoff voting system, guess what? If somebody fucked me that way, who's doing that? Oh, rat fucker. Look, if somebody does that in instant runoff voting and with my system, well, the fuck if he's getting my vote again. He needs me. All right, he can't get reelected again without getting affirmative votes, okay? He can't win because of a district anymore. He can't win because he's the only choice anymore. He has to earn it every fucking election, all right? So there's no fucking way somebody's going to fuck me and expect to get my vote again. So I don't see that happening in my system. They're going to get their ass kicked if they try that shit.
Apropos, the problem you describe is because of your proportional system. And it's better than in America because the whole point that those three parties could make that coalition is because together they have more people than the number one. The number one isn't the real number one, right? The number one is only number one because proportional systems still have this binary voting, and they deal with the binary voting in a different way. And there's certain problems, like you don't get to choose your actual executive and et cetera. But it's not a problem that there's a coalition between 2, 3, and 4 to be 1, because that means 2, 3, and 4 is bigger than 1, and it means 2, 3, and 4 are more alike, you know, the fact that they would make that coalition. And so the problem is, of course, with proportional systems, you can actually have number 4 might be some nutcase, maybe the radical conservatives. I forget if that's what happened in Canada, but I know there's some story of, you know, where you have really strange bedfellows. Well, with instant runoff voting, you don't have that because there is no coalition. It's priority voting, and you get the priority. And you can look at it mathematically and trust that. You get the priority. That's why people say if you rank all the candidates, you get exactly who everybody thought they wanted. Now, you can't prove they're educated, know who to want. And that's why you have to deal with how they campaign and shit. But, you know, that's the, you know, you have proportional voting. It's better than ours, but it's still screwed up, you know. And I forget if it was strange bedfellows, the 2, 3, 4, but.
Yeah, and well, what's the, you know, again, oh shit, I lost it. Somebody's mic is open or something. James, maybe? Whatever. 2, 3, 4. I was going to say something that damn last thing Pyro said. I got distracted. Let's see real quick. Party.
Apropos.
Yeah, party. Yeah, there's no party. Like I said, if you institute instant runoff voting, there are no more parties. So there's no more coercion through party politics. There's no more game playing. There's going to be every likelihood that 2 Democratic candidates, two liberal type candidates, will hate each other's guts rather than work together. There's more likelihood they're going to be adversaries than they're going to be allies.
Gary, yeah, that's the thing, though. This was happening within the party, within the Liberal Party. That had nothing to do with the actual elections for the government. The people, that's where this was all going on, and it wasn't as if there were parties within the party, but there were candidates who were closer to one another, who had similar ideologies, who got together and did this. And what I'm arguing is that ultimately it ended up hurting the party because the fourth person got chosen as the leader, and he went on to lose the next election. And would the same thing not happen with, say, a president? We get sort of like this soft-spoken fifth candidate who never really did take a firm position on things. It always was coaxing both sides to see if he could get these votes in this, this third step before you actually choose the leader. He was trying to cater to both sides, saying, "Hey, I'm like you," but really never taking a position.
I'm just saying, though, the odds are that you're not going to get ripped off by people you trust. And my point is if I got a choice of almost everybody in America to vote for, I could vote for Albert Einstein or something. I can vote for somebody who I know isn't going to screw me over some political wheel or deal. All right, so I can guarantee the integrity of my vote, where I have no guarantee now, because I'm obliged to vote for a lesser of evils. I'll never have to do that again with instant runoff voting and getting rid of this geographic shit. Yeah, well, even a dead Einstein's better than a living Obama.
Don't get screwed in Gary's system of delegating your vote, because you don't have to delegate your vote. If you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's a 1 in a million chance that you could possibly, the system would screw up. If you rank every candidate, you can't get it wrong per se. It will, the selection you indicate will be represented, like Gary puts, in terms of nobody doesn't have representatives, though that means the geographic thing has to be in place. So you only delegate your vote if you want to vote for one person. So the people that are like, I'm going to vote for Chad, I trust him, then, that could be in their neighborhood. It's a great system, and then it gets propagated. But most people would vote for 1, 2, 3, and people like Gary and me, they're like, I'm not ever delegating any votes. Fuck that. We'll vote for 10 people, and we'll never delegate a vote, not in any of these systems. It's an excellent system.
Here's a problem. Here's a question I'd have to ask, though. How much weight do you give to the second choice on your list and the third choice? If it's all going to be added up in the end into a batch, who's to say that my second choice I want to be worth just half as much as my first choice, or whether or not there's this huge gap. I don't believe in anybody but the first person I put on my list, and who's to say I wanted that second vote to be worth half and add it in like that, and my third vote to be worth something else?
That's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't count the placement of your vote and add up the numbers by the placement of the vote. Okay, it's just a system. The choice decides how the votes fall, how they move into the next round. But all the votes retain the same exact weight. So 2, 4, 7, 10. There's no difference on the list. Only one of your guys is going to be at the top in the end. Your vote's going to end up in one person's hands. And it might not be your first choice, but that's just the fact, okay? You don't get to win with your first choice. The point is, one of your choices will be on the list. And what won't be on the list is George Bush, or something you're completely opposed to. Your vote will not end up being swallowed or consumed by something you hate.